The focus or concentration since Tuesday has been on the partial removal of bread subsidies. Yet, the main issue that should be focused on is that stunting is really being addressed, really being tackled for the first time in over a decade. Why is there a partial removal of bread subsidies? Because the country needs to allocate the subsidy where it will be beneficial or where it will be added value. Some households in the country use subsidized bread to feed its livestock, and they bake in-house for their personal use. If we use the subsidy to improve child nutrition and address the negative repercussions of unhealthy eating habits or undernutrition, then the new generation can contribute to a better future. Subsidies are meant to help close a gap, not create many others. Facing challenges leads to a better future. Good evening. You're watching The Business Insider. I'm Ayman Salah, and we aim to bring you the news, the events, and the developments making news in the economic and business spheres. We'll be back. Welcome back. The first news item we have for you today is that Egypt's foreign currency reserves increased marginally in July to 40.61 billion US dollars. That's up from 40.58 billion in June, and that's according to official figures released by the Central Bank of Egypt on Wednesday. Reserves are still about $5 billion short of where they were prior to COVID, due to the pandemic's induced sell-off of emerging market assets, as well as the lockdown of the economy in the second quarter. Second news item is from the World Tourism Organization, where it revealed that the first 5 months of 2021 saw international travel down 85% from its pre-COVID levels. It said that less diversified economies are set to feel the pinch the most, while other countries benefit from an increase in domestic tourism. According to the Financial Times, the second COVID summer will hit tourism-reliant economies hard, with many emerging economies missing out on potential revenues as the cost of fighting the pandemic weighs on their balance sheets. But luckily for us, Egypt is not within those countries. We'll be back. Welcome back. You're watching The Business Insider. Tonight we're discussing foreign exchange and the outlook of where it's going here in the country, its effect on the export market, and the sectors that contribute to attracting foreign currency. With us tonight is Dr. Magued Azim, Professor of Economics, among other things. A pleasure having you on the show with us tonight. Let me start with the announcement made by the Central Bank of Egypt, where they said that the reserves increased marginally, up from 40.58 to 40.61 billion US dollars. What does this signify?
First of all, I would like to thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to join with you. The first point that regarding the report of the central bank, it's an indicator to mean that there is an improvement in the performance of the Egyptian economy, which is mean there is more activities to make added value to the economy, which is mean the activities of the industrial activities and the agriculture, all the activities that the government are doing to improve our economy is going in the right track or on the way, which is mean there is an income from the exports, and also the situation of the crisis of COVID-19. It started to to be better than the past.
All right, let's watch this report, and that revolves around the forecasts for Egypt's foreign currency reserves, foreign exchange reserves, and we'll return to discuss it with our guest tonight, Dr. Magued Azim, Professor of Economics. We'll be back.
Egypt's foreign exchange reserves rose slightly in July to $40.61 billion, up from $40.58 billion in June, according to official figures released on Wednesday by the Central Bank of Egypt today. According to the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, foreign direct investment in Egypt can climb in each of the next 4 years. The IMF notes that Egypt could see foreign direct investment jump as much as 60% this fiscal year compared to last year in its report following its second review of Egypt's $5.2 billion standby facility. The IMF sees Egypt landing the FDI of $8.6 billion in the fiscal year 2021-2022, up sharply from $5.4 billion last year, and forecast that the FDI will rise to $11.7 billion in the fiscal year 2022-2023, before hitting $16.5 billion in the fiscal year 2024-2025. A strong rebound in tourism is expected, with revenue similarly expected to see a rebound to $8 billion this fiscal year, up from a projected $4.4 billion in 2020-2021. This will further increase to $15 billion in 2022-2023, reaching $25.1 billion in 2024-2025. Tourism receipts are expected to remain subdued as travel restrictions in many key tourist markets remain in place, though the resumption of direct flights from Russia to the Red Sea destinations next month will likely brighten the outlook. Receipts are expected to reach pre-pandemic levels of 4% of the GDP in the fiscal year 2023-2024. However, the IMF also sees that the overall trade balance may fall deeper into deficit over the next 4 years. Exports will increase only marginally from $29.4 billion during the current fiscal year to $32.1 billion in 2024-2025, and this will be outpaced by import growth, which will surge from $65.9 billion this year to $83.8 billion by mid-decade. Suez Canal revenues are expected to reach $6.6 billion in 2021-2022 and to inch up to $7.6 billion by 2024-2025, with its revenues making a record $5.84 billion last year. The country's foreign reserves will continue increasing over the next 12 months, according to the report, reaching $44.1 billion by the end of the current fiscal year, and reserves will surpass pre-pandemic levels in 2022-2023 to reach $47.6 billion. Before climbing to $55.1 billion by the middle of the decade. Meanwhile, the IMF expects economic growth to almost double to 5.2% in the fiscal year 2021-2022 from a projected 2.8% in the previous fiscal year. This will rise again to 5.6% in 2022-2023 before ticking up to 5.8% by 2024-2025. The IMF forecasts that Egypt will have the third largest economy in the Arab region by the end of 2021 and expects its economy to be worth $394.3 billion by the close of the year.
Welcome back. Let's discuss this report with Dr. Magued Azim, Professor of Economics. That falls right into your playground. What do you make of this report?
All these results and expectations, we can understand all the positive points from it if we just go back to the Egyptian economic reform, which started on 2016 at November, and all the procedures that the government started to apply, like the exchange rate liberalization, floating, all these expectations and forecasting start with the Suez Canal income and the balance of trade, and also the IMF expectations or forecasting regarding the tourism sector. The government started very strong procedures and make a very determined points to improve the situation of the the Egyptian economy, and this reflect on the points that in the report with a positive results. If we look at this results or forecasting, we will see that most of it's positive, because the procedures that the government start to apply it affect on this points with the good results. I think the government did and still are doing a lot of efforts to all the fields to increase the growth rate and improve the standard of living to all the citizens. Regarding the point that the IMF forecasting that Egypt will have the third largest economy in the Arab region by the end of 2022. This is really, it's a surprise, because we are working hardly, the government, working hardly, the Egyptian government, working hardly to achieve all the objectives of the strategy of 2030 and also the sustainable development. The third will be after Saudi Arabia and United Emirates, which is mean we are going to improve all the standard of living for all the Egyptian people.
All right, which means an increased GDP, yet it's still below the GDP needed to be compatible with the population growth rate.
Yes,
if you will.
But if I look to the COVID-19 crisis, and we now it's the 2.8% compared to the other countries which achieved
compared to
negative,
the world. Yes,
the world achieved negative results, and expectations that it will be 5.2% the next year. I think it's a good result compared to the other countries. Maybe it's more than strong. The economy is more than strong than our economy, or it's an oil countries.
The trade balance, the expectations that the IMF has issued in the report says that the trade balance may witness a decrease. Which means it's not in Egypt's favor. Yet all the efforts that are being exerted, they're exerted in order to have a positive trade balance, if you will, instead of having the imports rise vis-a-vis or in the face of your exports, especially since the production sector is taking a lot of attention within this period. Would you agree with the report on that issue?
Really, I don't agree completely, because after all these efforts to the production sector and the industry sector and all the new cities, the industrial new cities, the furniture city and the medicine city and the food city that our president opened yesterday, and all the other huge or mega projects.
You have a gold city, you have the Suez Canal economic zone, you have the new El Alamein city, the spinning and weaving city, right?
Yes. I think it's the trade balance, it's the relation between the exports and the imports. If we compare our exports and our imports, we can see the deficit or the surplus. But I think after a while, because it needs some time to start the wheel of production, it takes some time to get the revenue, the real revenue, because it's a big investment and huge investment, all these mega projects. And the government started to also encourage the investors, even the local investors, the Egyptian investors, and the Arab Gulf, from the Gulf countries investors, and the foreigner investors, by the modifications of the laws to encourage the investors to come to Egypt, and some of facilities to encourage them to invest, which is the infrastructure. It's already became more than good to encourage the investors to come, and also the stability of the security and the economic stability, and also the environment. The environment, it's encouraged the people to invest.
So what you're saying basically is that the report does not take into consideration the output of the new production facilities and the new cities that have been erected. The report does not take their output into consideration, or the forecasted output into consideration.
I think so. I think so, because if they put it in their consideration, I think the results will be positive, not negative, like this expectation.
All right. How is the export market affected by the exchange rate? We have now, if we take the dollar as an example, it's 15.67 to the dollar today.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
How does that affect, how's the exchange rate affecting the export market?
Just excuse me, let me just to explain what's the meaning of the exchange rate, because it's sometimes not clear. The exchange rate's the value of one nation's currency versus the currency of another nation or economic zone, which is mean our currency compared with the other currencies like the US dollar or the euro. The Egyptian economy, after the liberalization of the exchange rate at the beginning of the economic reform, it's increased from maybe 7.58 up to reached up to 20 nearly, and after this it's decreased, and now it's 15.72, 15 point something like that. And it is stable, which is mean it's a good indicator for the economy, and which is mean that the financial institutions and the credit institutions, they say that the Egyptian economy is going on the right track, because it means that the government is doing the best to encourage the investment and also to keep the stability of the exchange rate.
Some would say that the real value of the EGP is higher than what it is at today.
Maybe, but I think it's not completely like this, but I think it's going to be in the same level after some of good results will happen. Maybe it needs some time. Maybe I think at the end of this year, the situation of the Egyptian currency will improve compared to with the other currencies, because all the good results that happened in the Egyptian economy will reflect on the GDP also, And the point that now we are 2.8%, and the next year it will be 5.8 or 5.2 or something like that, will reflect on the Egyptian economy with the good results also.
How does it affect the export market?
The export market, we have two kinds of exports: an oil exports and non-oil exports. On the oil exports side, we have the gas and we have the oil and we have some of good discovered in these fields.
Discoveries, yes.
Discoveries, yes. And on the other hand, the non-oil exports, like the agriculture exports or the industrial exports, we are working hardly, the government is working hardly to encourage this kind of non-oil exports by the mega projects that we mentioned, and also the new areas or the new cities for the investors, and the website, the government website is clear that where is the opportunities, the location of the opportunity and the type of the investment opportunity to the investors. And regarding the non-oil exports, the expectations that it will increase during the next 2 years because of the new mega projects, and the industrial projects will produce the products, and now it's there is a good advantage for the Egyptian products around the market around.
You have positive results in which sectors?
The industrial sectors and the medicine sector and the chemicals sector as well. There is many sectors like the gold sector with the new gold city, and
with the new law that has been issued regulating the mining industry.
The mining industry?
The gold.
Yes. Yes. And also the engineering industries, the fabrics and cotton clothes, and iron and steel. We are working in this industry with a good results, and the chemical products as well. This is my expectations for the industrial sector.
What about the IT exports?
The IT export, maybe we have the monitor screens, and we need to create a new professions for the faculties to produce the students to teach the students.
But you have the percentage of GDP contribution of the IT sector in our economy has increased tremendously, and is increasing. And you have a lot of services that are being provided from the IT sector contributing positively. Is that a source that we can expect to be a major contributor in the near future?
Yes, in the near future, I think we'll be in a good position for this industry as well.
A strong pound, positive or negative for exports?
The strong pound is not positive for any exports.
But strong quality is.
Yes, of course.
Good quality.
Yeah.
High quality.
Yes, high quality, of course. And if we are looking to the other countries, what they did with their currencies, some of the countries reduced the value of their currencies to give their exports an advantage, comprehensive advantage with the other countries, like China. China reduced even the currency of this country for maybe 30%, and for maybe 3 times or 4 times, more than 4 times.
Right.
Also, Venezuela reduced the value of its currency to encourage the exports and to make a good opportunities for their products to compete with the other countries.
Right.
And there is a very important point, that the stability of the exchange rate. The stability of the exchange rate of the local currency against foreign currencies is an indicator of the development and stability of the economy in those countries. To encourage also the investors to come and to make a good results for the economy and the growth rate.
Right. What needs to be encouraged in terms of policies to enhance the country's competitiveness, especially when we're talking about the export market?
The government doing a good effort for the laws and the regulations, but I think we still need some of facilities and to make the time very short to the investors to establish their companies. The one window still need some efforts also. And I think the infrastructure now it's in a good position after the maybe 7,000 kilometers and the tunnels and the bridge and the infrastructure, which is mean all the facilities to the new cities to reach each other through that tradition, that trade. And also I think the new airports and the new the renovation of the old infrastructure, I think it's a good now, but I think we need to complete the other things.
You said some countries have reduced the value of their currency. There are some countries that manage the exchange rate process. Yet there are others that incentivize and even go to the extent of subsidize certain export sectors. And we have some northern neighbors that are known to subsidize the exports, their export sector, thus enhancing their competitiveness within the markets. Subsidies now, the term itself is now being considered a taboo. However, incentivizing, would that help in creating more added value for the country's trade balance? And here I'm referring to, for example, there was a suggestion a few shows ago from a dear guest who said, if you just sell the gas at the international price, you give it to me at with even a little higher instead of the current prices, this will increase my competitiveness, thus I will be able to generate more foreign currency into the country. Do we need such policies?
Yes. Yes, we need, because the subsidy is very important to not protect but to encourage the industries and to encourage the exports as well, like the prices of the electricity and the gas, and also the
the
way
VAT.
Yes, the VAT.
The value-added tax.
The value-added tax also, it's very important, and also the taxes on the machines that they imported to
produce.
To produce. Yes.
Well, the machine, the imported machine used to produce the exported product.
Yes.
Thus, more foreign currency.
Yes.
Am I understanding correctly?
Because of this, the subsidy is very important to, like the new industry, or to make a big industry. It's look like the small child. You have to help him to stand up, and then he can go and be strong. And I think the subsidies, the government is taking this point very, very important, especially for the prices of the electricity, and the gas, the energy, yes, the energy, all the kind of energy.
Energy used for production.
Yes, for production with a special rate, not like the
no, they're not asking for a favorable rate. They're asking for its cost price.
Cost price, yes, cost price. The fair is fair.
They're not asking for favors, right?
Yes, it's very important really to encourage, and we from the other countries we can see how they helped their industries and their importers and encouraged it to compete with the other products and the other countries' products, especially now there is two items, the quality and the price, to compete quality and the price.
Of course.
And I think the price is dependent on the
quality,
cost.
price, and logistics.
And logistics, of course. And the price is dependent on the cost, because it's cost plus profit. Something
so the more you incentivize me as a producer, the more money I will be able to generate into the economy. Is that a correct statement?
Correct, yes. 100%.
There is another statement that I usually hear from producers, and they say, £1, if you subsidize me with £1, I can generate $1 or more. Is that term correct? Is that statement correct as well?
I think from my own opinion that it's correct, because if you will help me with £1, yes, it will make me give me a big push to increase my production and to increase also my productivity, and I think it will return back with more than the one Egyptian pound. Maybe less than $1, but at least the double or triple of the subsidies.
Okay, so what needs to be done? Regulate and incentivize, or regulate and liberalize?
I think regulate and incentivize.
Dr. Magued Azim, Professor of Economics, always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Pleasure being with you. See you same time next week. I'm Ayman Salah. Good night.